Hi everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another royal news video. So it's been a while since I've caught up with you guys about personal things that I have been up to in my life. So for those of you that are just joining me for the royal gossip, you can skip to the timestamp here. For the rest of you, buckle up. So where did I leave you last? I was going to a Halloween party. This is the one photograph that we have. Well, this is the only one that came out well because the others, believe me when I say it was very crowded and very dark. So no full costumes for you guys, but it was actually a really fun night and it was always nice going out and having a few drinkies with the fabulous Amber. So my week progressed. I knew I was going up to London on Wednesday to meet my friend Aideen, who comes over from Ireland, and we catch up and try and do something royal. So this time we went to Westminster Abbey. Wow, incredible. I know I only live an hour outside of London. I have never ever been. It's absolutely breathtaking, as you can imagine. The photographs I've taken do not do it justice. You don't know whether to look left, right, up, down, lie on the floor. Obviously don't do that, but look at the ceiling. The architecture is absolutely insane. It's beautiful. There were a couple of gentlemen in red capes walking around who like to talk to tourists and explain anything that they have. They were absolutely fantastic. They've got also volunteers in blue. If you are stuck for any questions, they are so helpful there. But the place, honestly, amazing. Highly recommend doing it if you are ever going to London and you think, should we do the Abbey? Definitely do the Abbey. So during this week, we then had the issue, I say we, it was myself because my husband was at work, he didn't have to deal with it. I have another resident hedgehog. Those of you guys might remember I had one. They're not pets, they're wild in the UK, but the last time I thought my hedgehog might have been sick. I've got a hedgehog house set up. I left it too long and unfortunately it died of its injuries. It had been hurt by a lawnmower and there was lots of other things that were wrong with it. So they said, don't blame yourself. But this time I had noticed that, let's just say the little critter had been having some upset stomach problems and I just decided, do you know what? I'm not risking it this time. So I spoke to a wildlife expert and I drove to Leatherhead and I dropped them off. Turns out that they do in fact have an infection which kills them, which is the lungworm. So he's now being treated. He'll be in there for a few weeks. He's a young one as well. Yes, I know it's a boy as well. And I'm going to call him Spike. But yes, so Spike is doing well. He's in recovery. And once he feels better and they fattened him up a bit because he's one of this year's little ones, then hopefully he will be released into my care and I will put him back out in his nice little hedgehog house. And I've actually just ordered a camera that I can set up out there. So obviously when he's back, I will be uploading hedgehog footage as well, just to keep you entertained. So yes, and then on top of that, I had the pleasure of visiting North Devon for the first time in my entire life. I absolutely loved it. The hubby and I took the dogs with us. We went to a dog-friendly Airbnb cottage and it was absolutely fantastic. It is such a beautiful county. It was a good 5-hour drive from where we live. Totally worth it. I've been to South Devon, but it was many, many years ago. And it's just stunning. The dogs had such an amazing time. They were so happy and they love being on the beach. They're both Greek rescues. Obviously, it's not as warm as Greece, but the dogs didn't seem to care. But what's a truly wonderful place. And we can't wait to go back and to spend more time exploring. I'm really happy with some of the photographs that I managed to take this time. Slowly but gradually working back on my photography skills. So, hello everybody, those of you that skipped, let's get on with the royal news. Well, we have got a hit job yet again going on against the royal family, but this time it's not coming from Montecito. I know, it's shocking really, because Harry and Meghan, well, they're still remaining quiet, but we're not going to talk about them because this is to do with real royal news first, but I have got quite a funny Meghan story towards the end of the video. So what's gone on? What's this new attack about? Well, it's Channel 4 have done a dispatch. The evil royal family are cruel, nasty landlords that rake in billions from charities, and they are just leaving people to fester in mouldy properties. It's sensationalist crap. Channel 4's dispatches. I'd like to say my piece about Channel 4. This is the same channel that when the king was having his coronation, all the beautiful coverage, they ran alternative coverage, which was basically hours and days of just bashing the royal family. So that should give you a general gist, those of you outside of the UK, of what sort of documentary expose this was going to be. And it wasn't really an expose, because despite the way they worded it, they did not actually tell us anything that isn't already available on the internet. Yes, for those of you that care to research and actually look into the royal family, the duchies, the crown estates, how they earn their money, where money gets spent, it's all there. But of course, Channel 4 made it into this big dramatic story with some help from the Sunday Times, the Mirror, and various other media outlets. You can see this is directly targeted at Prince William and the King because people got a little bit rattled, didn't they? A little bit upset. Prince William, as the Prince of Wales, has only recently taken over the Duchy of Cornwall. He is building new houses. He's just launched the initiative that he's doing where he wants to work towards ending homelessness in the UK. He is going to be doing more and probably has already done more than what our previous governments and current government has done. So you can imagine there are a few people's noses out of joint, as well as the Republicans. The King has just had a hugely successful tour of Australia and Samoa, and I'm sure that the same people were frothing at the mouth after what happened with the Caribbean tour. The Caribbean tour was no fault of Catherine and William's. It was stirred up racism and colonialism. It was done by the typical same race baiters we unfortunately have on our TV and working for certain media outlets. Of course, Harry and Meghan's fan base as well, because they were the ones, well, it was Harry and Meghan themselves that stirred up all of the racist attacks towards the royal family with unfounded accusations back on Oprah, which seems like a lifetime ago. But as most of you know from the Australia tour, it was a huge success. So again, there are certain people that are very upset that the royal family's popularity has recovered from the death of the Queen, and it would seem that the Republican movement isn't quite as popular as many of them hope for. So let's talk about dispatches, shall we? The Channel 4 hit job on Prince William and the King with regards to their duchies. The sensationalist headlines that have been coming out since this aired is that the King and Prince William are making millions from charities and public bodies such as the NHS. This is about creating drama and making people angry at the royal family in a huge cost of living crisis where people are becoming furious. We are very much like America, Canada, just to name a couple of countries. We've got similar issues going on. And I think personally, this is my opinion, they're going, oh, don't look at the government. Let's point the finger. Look this way. Get your pitchforks. And yet again, let's go for the royal family. Channel 4 makes a point of saying how they've uncovered the secrets that the royal family have wanted hidden from you for years. No, they've just, again, readily available on Google if you care to look at the royal family's accounts, which are released every single year. So I can sum up the general gist of it, and it's, well, the royal family own land, and guess what? They charge rents. I know, stop the press. Absolutely shocking. So as part of the investigation by Channel 4 dispatches and the Sunday Times, they brought up that the King last year agreed a deal with the NHS. I'd like to point out again, agreed a deal, did not force, to store a fleet of new ambulances for several London hospitals at a cost of 11 million, which of course sounds a horrendous amount of money, but this is over 15 years. Might I suggest that if the NHS is suddenly so unhappy, they find a new landlord then? But I'm fairly certain other London landlords, some foreign investors, will also charge them rent as well and would be under nowhere near as much scrutiny, legislation and transparency as the royals are. And as for the NHS, people getting on their moral high horse, the NHS in 2018 to 2019 2019 charged 272 million in parking charges, of which 86.2 million was for their own staff, the people saving people's lives. The rest was obviously visitors and, more importantly, patients. So if you can imagine, if that was the figures in 2018, 2019, what the figures would be inflated to now, it's 2024. Even if the king refunded them for what rent they have paid, it would be swallowed up into management's bonuses. The reason why they've picked the NHS is because they know people are upset. People are waiting very long times now to even see a doctor, to have surgery, operations being cancelled, cancer treatment being delayed. Now, I'm not bashing the NHS. I'm incredibly grateful that we have free healthcare. I'm grateful for the amazing hardworking people that we have that are often overworked and underpaid. The nurses, the cleaners, for example. But let's not pretend that they don't waste billions every single year on changing computer systems that don't work. Fat cat manager salaries. Health tourists costing up to 300 million per year. 6.7 billion in profits since 2012 has gone to private shareholders for outsourcing services, and they pay millions to lots of other private landlords and to investors. But that, of course, wasn't quite the idea of this big expose. This was an attack on the royal family. So let's talk some truths, shall we, about the Duchy of Lancaster, which provides a personal income for the king, and then the Duchy of Cornwall, which provides a personal income for the Prince of Wales, his wife, his children. The Duchy of Lancaster, the king, also helps provide for other members of the royal family, except obviously Prince Andrew, as His Majesty has reportedly had enough and cut his younger brother off in hope that it might finally get him to move out of Royal Lodge. King Charles and Prince William do in fact pay taxes on the duchies, and they both pay it at 45%, which is the highest UK tax bracket for high earners. They have done so since 1993 when the Queen started doing it, and it is voluntarily. Now, I'm very grateful that they do it, but again, before anyone starts getting preachy going, well, they should, you should have the same aggression towards the big corporations like Adobe, Microsoft, Amazon, just to name a few. Can you imagine the amount of money that they could actually pump into the economy if they actually paid their taxes? But hey, taxes are only for some people. Both duchies have private portfolios dating back to the 13th century. They are separate from the Crown estates, which some people seem to get confused with. Buckingham Palace, St James's Palace, Kensington Palace, which bring in 1.1 billion per year, and obviously that figure is gradually increasing. The sovereign grant is paid to the king out of that, which takes care of the maintenance of the palaces, building services, royal travel, only for official engagements, staff salaries, state dinners, garden parties, etc. 80% of that 1.1 billion gets paid to the Treasury. Again, slight little details that Channel 4 doesn't want to remind the public of. All the properties on both the duchies are inalienable, which means that the royals are not entitled to the capital profits. All transactions must be approved by the Treasury, and their accounts are independently audited every year for their financial and environmental performances, and then laid before Parliament to ensure that they are keeping to their statutory obligations. All the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed. And this, again, is always presented every single year to the government that go through it with a fine tooth comb. It's very obvious that the government would love to get a land grab off of the royal family. So don't you think if there was anything nefarious going on, they would be the first to uncover anything? Channel 4 wasn't just doing this by themselves. The Mirror joined in as well. They investigated that one particular property had mold in it. It was terrible conditions. But what they decided to leave out of this, the Mirror Mirror, the Telegraph decided to do an investigation, and they disclosed the fact that this particular tenant has been in rent arrears since 2005. The Duchy have tried to help her with a repayment plan. She's not followed it. An independent surveyor assessed the residence this year, and they disclosed the fact that she was not heating or ventilating the property correctly. Now, I've got no idea of what age the property is, but this home, my home, was built in the 1970s. And if I do not ventilate this property properly and you do not keep a check on it, it gets mold. The reason I know this is because remember I said to you guys that I was a little bit stressed to do with a wall problem? Well, we've had a leak, we've got mold coming from a pipe, and now we've got to have something replastered. Hopefully not the entire wall. But you see what I mean? You've got to take care of your properties, and we live in an incredibly wet and damp country. Mold is a problem, and it's going to get a lot worse because not many of us can afford to heat our homes quite like we used to. But of course, I'm waiting for another dispatch that's the royal family's fault as well. Since this story has broke, Prince William has confirmed that he will be investing money to make sure that he brings the properties up to standard. But I will say there's no way that I honestly believe that the Prince and Princess of Wales, that the King and Queen Camilla were aware of these tenants living in these type of conditions if this does in fact turn out to be true. And this hasn't obviously just been blown up a lot bigger. This is one tenant, and as it turned out, it wasn't quite the truth. If Channel 4 really wanted to do a big expose on the terrible landlords, then they could possibly do one which would make people very angry, and they could actually start covering the state of military homes where families are expected to live, serving military personnel, the barracks that they stay in, the homes that they have their young children in. But again, that would be pitchforks at the ready, but the government departments don't want it coming in their direction. So again, of course, it's look the other way or pretend that it's not happening, because we've got the evil royal family to continuously pick on and try and divert attention to. Prince William is trying to do good things with ending homelessness, so what better time to bring out a programme reminding everyone of the royal family's exceptional privilege that they were born into, the palaces that they have access to. Somebody at Channel 4 has an axe to grind, and this just proves why people are slowly but surely relying on social media to get the real news. So let's move away from Prince William, the King and the Duchess. Let's talk about the funny stuff I've got to end the video on. Meghan, who Tina Brown, royal author, who said that Meghan is flawless at getting it wrong. She wasn't wrong at all, because Meghan's had another hit in her direction. I'm sorry, I don't feel any sympathy for her because of this woman, because of this gentleman, because of this family. No, I do not have even a shred of sympathy for the cash grab that she did to the royal family, and I find this honestly hysterical. Meghan's got another trademark problem with Aro, American Riviera Orchard. It's not even been launched, and it's been one of her biggest disasters so far. And let's be honest, she's made a lot of those, and I'd imagine that she will continue to do so. Launching the video timed for Prince William's Diana Awards speech back in March, alongside an Instagram page that had absolutely nothing on it apart from a logo, and it's had nothing posted to it since. Then we had the brief publicity stunt, sorry, this really makes me laugh, the brief publicity stunt of Meghan's jam, where she labelled them 1 to 50, showing the importance possibly to the people she sent them to. The fact that it was embarrassing, she sent out 50, and I think 10 or 12 people came forward and admitted that they had them and did their Instagram posts for the promotion of Meghan's Aro and her jam, 2 of which actually give me the gag reflex. One of them being Nacho biting into the toast saying, "Did I tell you I love your jam?" Oh, sorry, there's just something about that. And then, of course, we have Chrissy Teigen. And I'm sorry for those of you of a delicate disposition, but she looked like she was in a porn film as she dribbled brie down her chin. It was just gross and possibly not the sort of advertisement that Meghan thought that she was going to get. So Meghan has already had the trademark slapped down once because of you cannot trademark a geographical area. Firstly, she's going to have to prove that anything that she produces, if she ever does, and sticks a label on it and says American Riviera Orchard, it's got to come from the American Riviera, which is the nickname given to Santa Barbara. Now, obviously, sticking orchard on the end of it has no real effect. She still called it American Riviera. The trademark office are not particularly happy. Plus, orchard, when you think of an orchard, I think of cherries, I think of plums, I think of apples and pears. And funnily enough, it's the latter one that's got her in more hot water. Harry and David are a US-based luxury gift company that were founded in 1934. They sell the most gorgeous gift baskets. And one particular basket, which is causing the problem, is the fact that they are famed for selling Royal Riviera pears, a name that they have had trademarked for a number of years. So of course the company have put in and said Royal Riviera is a bit too close to American Riviera Orchard. Meghan trying to promote that she's royal. You know, they're saying that this is too close. The fact is, they've got a good point, haven't they? And it also proves that Meghan didn't do a single bit of research, not one teeny tiny iota of research before she filmed that video and then bought the Instagram account or created the Instagram account and then hit launch. She was clearly just so desperate to get her moment in, to really get one over Prince William on that Diana Awards speech. The new Archwell Awards wasn't going to gain enough traction, so she thought, I know what I'll do. And I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. It's such a British thing to say. I'm sorry, I'm really not sorry about the next thing that I'm going to say. It reminds me of the many unsold copies of The Bench that she had propping up her laptop as Harry juggled his balls outside. There were rumours that Meghan had a garage full of her failed 40 by 40 initiative merchandise. I would imagine that there is going to be a whole storage locker full of RO merchandise that she just quickly purchased and everything, from handbags to t-shirts. There's going to be a storage locker somewhere. And in my brain, could you imagine 5 years' time, you're sitting there, you're trying to watch something on TV and Storage Wars comes on and they find one of those great big containers that's got a royal emblem on it and they go, oh, brilliant. And you see these people practically fighting to the death because they think they're going to find royal treasure in there. And what they actually find are just unsold copies of The Bench of spare of 40 by 40 t-shirts and some RO handbags. I mean, that would be the most watched episode, I think, of the show that's ever existed. And I would honestly be wetting myself. But honestly, I've never seen anyone that can fail so badly at everything that she touches. She truly does have the reverse Midas touch. And I can imagine if RO does not actually get the approval from the trademark office, she probably filmed Netflix in RO aprons, and there's probably lots of produce that was used in the program because remember, it was meant to be working together alongside each other. So it might mean we're really lucky and the RO cooking launch never actually happens. So guys, that's it for me on this video. I hope you've enjoyed it and I will be back with you very soon. The Earthshot Prize kicks off tonight and I can't wait to cover it. So join me back here very, very soon. Take care for now. Bye.